Nature's fury is both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A tornado flips a bus like it's a toy, a tsunami swallows entire cities, and a volcanic eruption blankets the sky in fiery ash. These moments of chaos caught on camera leave us stunned and speechless. What would you do if faced with such raw power? 1. The Tri-State Tornado, 1925, USA.
Today is the anniversary of the single longest tracking, most deadly tornado in U.S. history.
Wow.
You know, you think of Joplin recently, but this one predates Joplin way back in 1925, and it affected...
The Tri-State Tornado remains the deadliest tornado in U.S. history, carving a 219-mile-long path of destruction through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana on March 18, 1925. This monstrous twister, classified as an F5, unleashed wind speeds exceeding 300 miles per hour, obliterating entire towns in its wake. Over 695 lives were lost, with thousands injured, making it a grim reminder of nature's fury. 2. 2011 Joplin Tornado, Missouri, USA. On May 22, 2011, Joplin, Missouri, faced one of the most catastrophic tornadoes in recent history. The EF5 twister brought winds of over 200 miles per hour, cutting a swath of destruction that stretched 6 miles long and nearly a mile wide. It claimed 158 lives and caused billions of dollars in damage. What made this tornado particularly heartbreaking was the impact on densely populated areas, including homes, schools, and hospitals. 3. Hurricane Katrina, 2005, USA. Hurricane Katrina is remembered as one of the most devastating storms in American history. Making landfall on August 29, 2005, this Category 5 hurricane wreaked havoc on the Gulf Coast, particularly in New Orleans, where levee failures caused catastrophic flooding. Over 1,800 lives were lost, and thousands of homes were destroyed, displacing entire families. 4th, Super Typhoon Haiyan, 2013, Philippines. Super Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, struck the Philippines on November 8, 2013, as one of the strongest tropical cyclones ever recorded. With sustained winds reaching 195 miles per hour, the typhoon obliterated entire communities, particularly in the city of Tacloban. Over 6,000 people lost their lives, and millions were left homeless. The storm surge, akin to a tsunami, swept away everything in its path, leaving a trail of unimaginable destruction. Cyclone Idai, 2019, Mozambique. Cyclone Idai, one of the worst tropical cyclones to hit Africa, made landfall in Mozambique in March 2019. The storm brought torrential rains, leading to catastrophic flooding that submerged entire villages. The human toll was staggering, with over 1,300 people killed and hundreds of thousands displaced. The aftermath was equally grim, as survivors faced a lack of clean water, food, and shelter. Idai highlighted the vulnerability of many African nations to climate disasters and underscored the urgent need for global action on disaster preparedness and climate resilience. 6. Hurricane Harvey, 2017, USA. Hurricane Harvey made landfall in Texas in August 2017, becoming one of the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history. What set Harvey apart was the unprecedented rainfall it brought, with some areas receiving over 60 inches of rain. Entire neighborhoods in Houston were submerged, forcing thousands of residents to flee their homes. 7. Cyclone Amphan, 2020, India, Bangladesh.
It's the strongest storm ever recorded in the Bay of Bengal. Both countries are trying to maintain social distancing at evacuation centers. But the bottom line is this will be a disastrous event for two countries already overwhelmed.
Cyclone Amphan, a Category 5 tropical cyclone, struck the Bay of Bengal in May 2020, becoming the most powerful storm to hit the region in decades. With winds of up to 160 miles per hour, it left a trail of destruction across India and Bangladesh, displacing millions and killing over 100 people. Coastal areas were particularly hard hit, with entire villages wiped out by the storm surge. 8. Storm Eunice, 2022, Europe. Storm Eunice hit Europe in February 2022, bringing some of the strongest winds the continent had seen in years. Gusts exceeding 120 miles per hour caused widespread damage across the United Kingdom, Netherlands, and Germany. Trees were uprooted, roofs were torn off buildings, and travel was severely disrupted. Eunice also set records for wind speeds in certain areas, highlighting the growing intensity of storms in the region. While the storm caused millions in damages, improved forecasting and early warnings helped minimize the loss of life, proving the value of modern meteorology. 9. Oklahoma tornado outbreak, 2013, USA. The 2013 Oklahoma tornado outbreak was a series of violent storms that swept across the state, culminating in an EF5 tornado that devastated the town of Moore on May 20th. With winds exceeding 200 miles per hour, the tornado leveled entire neighborhoods, including schools and hospitals. The outbreak resulted in 24 deaths and over 300 injuries, with damages estimated at over $2 billion. 10th Typhoon Mangkhut, 2018, Philippines. Typhoon Mangkhut, known as Ompong in the Philippines, struck in September 2018 as one of the most powerful storms to hit Southeast Asia. Packing winds of up to 170 miles per hour, Mangkhut caused widespread destruction, particularly in agricultural areas. The storm triggered landslides, flooding, and the loss of over 100 lives. Mangkhut's impact on the farming sector was devastating as it struck during harvest season, leaving many without a livelihood. 11th, 2010, Haiti earthquake.
There has been a huge earthquake, magnitude 7.0, just off the coast of Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Early reports of extensive damage are coming from the capital, Port-au-Prince, 700 miles from Miami.
The 2010 Haiti earthquake was one of the most devastating disasters in modern history. With a magnitude of 7.0, it struck near Port-au-Prince, the country's capital, on January 12th. Over 200,000 lives were lost, and more than 1.5 million people were displaced. Buildings crumbled like sandcastles, and the already fragile infrastructure of Haiti was completely overwhelmed. 12th, 2011, Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, Japan. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami is remembered not just for its destructive force, but also for triggering the Fukushima nuclear disaster. The magnitude 9.1 earthquake struck off Japan's northeastern coast on March 11th, causing a massive tsunami with waves as high as 133 feet. Entire towns were swept away, and nearly 20,000 people lost their lives. 13th, 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami. The 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami was one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. A massive undersea earthquake with a magnitude of 9.1 struck near Sumatra, Indonesia, on December 26th. It triggered a tsunami that affected 14 countries, including India, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. The death toll exceeded 230,000, with millions left homeless. Entire villages were washed away in moments, and survivors were left grappling with unimaginable losses. 14. 1906. San Francisco earthquake, USA. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake is a defining moment in American history. Striking on April 18th with an estimated magnitude of 7.9, it destroyed much of the city. Fires caused by ruptured gas lines burned for days, adding to the devastation. Over 3,000 people died, and nearly 80% of the city was destroyed. The earthquake highlighted the vulnerability of urban areas to seismic activity. 15. The 1976 Tangshan earthquake, China. The 1976 Tangshan earthquake struck northern China on July the 28th with a magnitude of 7.5. It is one of the deadliest earthquakes in history, with an estimated 242,000 fatalities, though some reports suggest the toll could be even higher. Tangshan, an industrial city, was completely leveled. The quake struck early in the morning, catching residents off guard. The Chinese government's initial silence about the disaster delayed international aid, making recovery efforts even more challenging. 16th, 1985 Mexico City earthquake. The 1985 Mexico City earthquake was a powerful 8.0 magnitude quake that struck on September 19th, causing widespread destruction in the heart of the country. Thousands of buildings collapsed, and the death toll ranged between 10,000 and 30,000. The earthquake exposed significant flaws in Mexico's building codes and urban planning. Amid the rubble, incredible stories of survival and heroism emerged, with citizens forming brigades to assist in rescue efforts. 17th, 2016 Kaikoura earthquake, New Zealand. The 2016 Kaikoura earthquake in New Zealand was a magnitude 7.8 quake that struck on November 14th. It caused dramatic changes to the landscape, lifting parts of the seabed by several meters and reshaping coastlines. Roads were destroyed, isolating the town of Kaikoura for weeks. Despite its intensity, the loss of life was minimal thanks to New Zealand's strict building codes and effective emergency response. 18. The 1999 Izmit earthquake, Turkey. The 1999 Izmit earthquake struck northwestern Turkey on August 17th with a magnitude of 7.6. It caused widespread destruction, killing over 17,000 people and leaving hundreds of thousands homeless. Entire neighborhoods were flattened, and rescue efforts were hampered by the scale of the devastation. The disaster exposed poor construction practices and a lack of enforcement of building codes. 19. 2018 Palu earthquake and tsunami, Indonesia. The 2018 Palu earthquake and tsunami in Indonesia was a multi-disaster event that devastated the city of Palu on September 28th. A magnitude 7.5 earthquake triggered a tsunami with waves up to 20 feet high, sweeping away homes and infrastructure. The disaster killed over 4,300 people and left thousands injured. Liquefaction caused by the quake turned solid ground into a slurry, swallowing entire neighborhoods. The 20th, the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, USA. The 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake struck California on October the 17th with a magnitude of 6.9. Known as the World Series earthquake because it occurred during a live broadcast of the baseball championship, it caused widespread damage in the San Francisco Bay Area. The quake killed 63 people and injured thousands. 21. Mount Vesuvius, 79 AD, Italy.
Tourist from Baltimore, Maryland, sliding into the volcano's crater. Well, the man's phone fell out of his hand, and when he tried to get it, he ended up slipping several yards in. Officials say he was lucky he didn't plunge into the abyss.
Mount Vesuvius's eruption in 79 AD is one of history's most infamous volcanic disasters. The eruption buried the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum under tons of ash and pumice, preserving them for centuries. Thousands of residents were killed almost instantly, many succumbing to intense heat and toxic gases. The cities remained hidden until their rediscovery, offering a haunting glimpse into ancient Roman life, frozen in time. This catastrophic event reminds us of the unpredictable power of volcanoes and their ability to shape history. 22nd, 1980 Mount Street, Helen's eruption, USA. Mount St. Helens erupted on May 18, 1980, in Washington State, USA, in an explosive event that forever altered the landscape. A massive landslide triggered the eruption, releasing a violent blast of ash, gas, and rock. The eruption flattened forests, destroyed homes, and claimed 57 lives. Ash clouds spread across the country, disrupting daily life. Scientists closely monitored the eruption, marking it as a turning point in volcano studies. The event showcased the need for preparedness and a better understanding of volcanic activity, leaving a powerful legacy in both science and public awareness. 23. 1815 Mount Tambora eruption, Indonesia. The 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia is the largest volcanic event in recorded history. The eruption released massive amounts of ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, leading to global climate disruption. Known as the Year Without a Summer, 1816 saw failed crops, famine, and freezing temperatures across Europe and North America. 24. 1883 Krakatoa eruption, Indonesia. The 1883 Krakatoa eruption in Indonesia was a volcanic explosion of unparalleled intensity. The blast was so loud, it was heard over 3,000 miles away and caused massive tsunamis, killing over 36,000 people. Entire islands were destroyed, and the eruption injected ash into the atmosphere, creating stunning sunsets worldwide. Global temperatures dropped for years due to the volcanic ash cloud. The event is a chilling reminder of the immense power of volcanic eruptions and their ability to alter the planet's climate. 25th, 2010 Eyjafjallajökull eruption, Iceland. Eyjafjallajökull erupted in 2010, capturing global attention not for its size, but for its impact on air travel. The ash plume disrupted flights across Europe for weeks, stranding millions of passengers and costing billions in losses. The eruption itself was relatively mild, but its ash cloud, containing fine volcanic particles, posed a serious threat to aircraft engines. Scientists studied the event closely, and its widespread effects underscored the need for better volcanic monitoring systems. This eruption demonstrated how even a small volcano can bring the world to a standstill. 26. 2018 Kilauea eruption, Hawaii, USA. The 2018 Kilauea eruption in Hawaii was a dramatic reminder of nature's power and unpredictability. Over several months, rivers of lava flowed through residential areas, destroying hundreds of homes and displacing families. The eruption reshaped the Big Island's landscape, creating new land and altering coastlines. Kilauea's activity reminded locals and scientists of the dynamic nature of the Earth's crust. Despite the destruction, no lives were lost, thanks to timely evacuations and effective emergency response efforts, highlighting the importance of preparedness in volcanic regions. 27. 1902 Mount Pelée. Eruption, Martinique. The eruption of Mount Pelée in 1902 is considered the deadliest volcanic disaster of the 20th century. It obliterated the town of Saint-Pierre on the island of Martinique, killing nearly all 30,000 residents in minutes. A fiery pyroclastic flow raced down the mountain, engulfing the city with superheated gas and ash. Only a handful of people survived, including a prisoner who was sheltered by the thick walls of his cell. The tragedy served as a wake-up call for better volcanic monitoring and evacuation procedures worldwide. 28. The 1985 Nevado del Ruiz eruption, Colombia. The 1985 eruption of Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia triggered deadly lahars, fast-moving mud flows of volcanic debris. The town of Armero was buried under tons of mud, killing over 23,000 people. The disaster was especially tragic because early warning signs were ignored, leading to delayed evacuations. The event became a pivotal moment in volcanic disaster management, highlighting the importance of listening to scientists and acting quickly. The story of Armero remains a somber reminder of the deadly potential of volcanic eruptions combined with human error. 29th, Mount Pinatubo eruption, 1991, Philippines. Mount Pinatubo erupted in June 1991, producing one of the most significant volcanic events of the 20th century. The eruption ejected massive amounts of ash and gas into the atmosphere, causing a global temperature drop of about 1 degree Fahrenheit. The explosion displaced tens of thousands of people and caused widespread destruction in the surrounding areas. What made this event remarkable was the successful evacuation of thousands of residents due to early warnings. The eruption highlighted the importance of scientific collaboration and disaster preparedness, leaving behind lessons that continue to save lives today. 30. 2021 La Palma volcanic eruption, Spain.
The river of red-hot lava has now pushed over the boundary of the evacuated area, forcing several hundred more people to flee their homes. An earthquake also shook the island of La Palma on Thursday, the strongest since volcanic activity picked up.
The 2021 La Palma volcanic eruption in Spain lasted for nearly 3 months, making it one of the island's longest and most destructive events. Lava flows destroyed over 3,000 homes, displaced thousands of residents, and covered vast areas of farmland. The eruption also created new land as lava entered the sea, altering the coastline. 31st, 2014 Oso mudslide, Washington, USA. The 2014 Oso mudslide in Washington state was a devastating event that destroyed homes and claimed 43 lives. A massive slope collapse sent millions of cubic yards of mud rushing into the small community, burying everything in its path. It highlighted the dangers of unstable terrain and the need for stricter land use planning. Saw 32. 1999 Vargas tragedy, Venezuela. The 1999 Vargas tragedy was one of Venezuela's worst disasters, with massive landslides triggered by days of torrential rain. Entire neighborhoods were swept away, and over 10,000 people lost their lives. The destruction was so widespread that some towns were abandoned permanently. It remains a haunting memory of nature's overwhelming power. 33. 2006 Leyte landslide, Philippines. In 2006, the Leyte landslide buried an entire village in the Philippines. After heavy rainfall weakened the soil, more than 1,100 people were killed, including schoolchildren attending classes. The scale of the disaster shocked the nation, prompting calls for better disaster risk management in areas prone to landslides and flooding. 34th, 2019 China landslide. The 2019 China landslide swept away roads, homes, and infrastructure in a rural region. Triggered by prolonged rainfall, the landslide displaced thousands and caused significant economic losses. Rescue efforts were challenging due to the remote location, but the disaster emphasized the importance of early warnings in mitigating such tragedies. 35. 2020 Uttarakhand landslide, India. In 2020, a glacier burst in Uttarakhand, India, triggering devastating landslides and flash floods. The disaster killed over 200 people and destroyed hydroelectric projects in the region. It raised concerns about the impact of climate change on fragile ecosystems, sparking debates on sustainable development in high-risk mountainous areas. 36. 1983. Thistle landslide, Utah, USA. The Thistle landslide of 1983 was one of the costliest in U.S. history. A slow-moving earth flow blocked a river, forming a lake that submerged highways and railroads. The town of Thistle was evacuated and abandoned. This disaster led to extensive studies on landslide prevention and early warning systems in the U.S. 37. 2018 Hokkaido landslide, Japan. The 2018 Hokkaido landslide was triggered by a magnitude 6.6 earthquake in Japan. The quake caused entire hillsides to collapse, burying roads and homes. Despite the destruction, quick response teams saved many lives. The disaster underscored the importance of earthquake-resistant infrastructure in regions prone to seismic activity and landslides. 38th, 2009 Papua New Guinea landslide. The 2009 Papua New Guinea landslide caused enormous destruction in remote villages, killing dozens and displacing hundreds. Heavy rainfall and deforestation contributed to the disaster. With limited access to affected areas, relief efforts were slow, highlighting the challenges of disaster management in regions with inadequate infrastructure and communication networks. 39. 2013 Kedarnath tragedy, India. The 2013 Kedarnath tragedy in India combined massive floods and landslides that ravaged the Himalayan town. Torrential rains and a breached glacier lake unleashed destruction, killing thousands of pilgrims and locals. It remains one of India's worst natural disasters, sparking discussions on the effects of climate change and unplanned development in sensitive regions. 40. 2003 Vargas State landslides, Venezuela.
This town in Venezuela has seen its homes swept away and its people wading through mud, as the biggest river floods in decades have left those who've survived searching for their loved ones.
In 2003, Venezuela experienced catastrophic landslides in Vargas State due to relentless rains. The disaster destroyed thousands of homes and killed hundreds, with many more displaced. This tragedy echoed the 1999 Vargas tragedy, showing how vulnerable the region remains to heavy rainfall and prompting calls for better disaster preparedness strategies. 41st, 1931. China floods. The 1931 China floods were the deadliest in recorded history, killing an estimated 2 to 4 million people. Torrential rains caused the Yangtze, Yellow, and Huai rivers to overflow, submerging vast areas. Entire cities and farmlands were destroyed, leading to famine and disease outbreaks. The tragedy remains unmatched in scale. 42nd, 2010 Pakistan floods. The 2010 Pakistan floods were devastating, affecting over 20 million people across the country. Monsoon rains caused rivers to overflow, submerging villages and displacing families. Crops and infrastructure were destroyed, leaving millions homeless. The disaster highlighted the need for better flood management systems, and international aid was crucial in relief efforts. 43. 2019 Mozambique cyclone-induced floods, Cyclone Idai, in 2019 brought catastrophic floods to Mozambique, submerging entire towns. The storm displaced hundreds of thousands and left widespread destruction in its wake. Many lost their homes and livelihoods as farmlands were destroyed. The disaster emphasized the vulnerability of low-lying areas to extreme weather events linked to climate change. 44. 2017 Houston floods, USA. In 2017, Hurricane Harvey dumped unprecedented rainfall on Houston, causing devastating floods. Some areas received over 60 inches of rain, submerging homes, roads, and businesses. Thousands of people were rescued by boats as neighborhoods turned into lakes. The disaster was a stark reminder of the increasing risks posed by intense storms. 45th, 2021 Germany floods. The 2021 Germany floods were a shocking event for Western Europe. Heavy rains caused rivers to overflow, devastating towns in Germany and Belgium. Entire streets were swept away, and over 200 lives were lost. The disaster raised concerns about climate change and the need for better flood management in urban areas. 46. 1993 Mississippi River flood, USA.
The flood of 1993 and how it's changed our state over the past 3 decades. Tonight, we begin by explaining exactly how this disaster played out.
The 1993 Mississippi River flood was one of the most destructive in U.S. history. Torrential rains caused the river and its tributaries to overflow for months, displacing tens of thousands of people. Croplands were submerged, leading to significant economic losses. It remains a landmark event in flood management history. 47. 2015 Chennai floods, India. The 2015 Chennai floods were a result of excessive monsoon rains, overwhelming the city's drainage system. Streets turned into rivers, and thousands of people were stranded in their homes. The floods exposed the lack of urban planning and infrastructure preparedness in rapidly growing cities, sparking calls for sustainable development. 48th, 2022 Pakistan monsoon floods. In 2022, unprecedented monsoon rains submerged vast parts of Pakistan, displacing millions. Entire towns were underwater, and farmland was devastated. The floods caused a massive humanitarian crisis, with people lacking food, water, and shelter. This event underscored the urgent need for climate resilience and international support for affected communities. 49. 2018 Kerala floods, India. The 2018 Kerala floods were caused by heavy monsoon rains and poorly managed dams. Rivers overflowed, submerging homes and roads, while landslides added to the devastation. Over 1 million people were displaced, and hundreds lost their lives. The floods brought attention to the impacts of deforestation and unplanned development in fragile ecosystems. 50. The 1974 Brisbane flood, Australia. The 1974 Brisbane flood was one of Australia's worst natural disasters. Heavy rains caused the Brisbane River to overflow, submerging large parts of the city. Thousands of homes were inundated, and infrastructure suffered extensive damage. The event led to improved flood defenses, including the construction of the Wivenhoe Dam to mitigate future risks. 51. The 1986 Gopalganj hailstorm in Bangladesh remains the deadliest hailstorm ever recorded. Massive hailstones, some weighing over 1 kilogram, rained down, killing at least 92 people and destroying homes and crops. It was a terrifying display of nature's power, leaving an entire region grappling with the aftermath of widespread devastation. 52. The 1999 Sydney hailstorm, Australia. The 1999 Sydney hailstorm was Australia's costliest hailstorm, causing over $1.7 billion in damages. Giant hailstones pummeled the city, shattering windows, damaging roofs, and wrecking cars. Thousands of homes were affected, and insurance claims soared. The storm highlighted the vulnerability of urban areas to extreme weather and the importance of preparedness. 53. 2010 Vivian hailstorm, USA. In 2010, the Vivian hailstorm in South Dakota broke records with hailstones the size of volleyballs. One of them, weighing nearly 2 pounds, became the largest hailstone ever recorded in the U.S. The storm caused extensive property damage, crushing vehicles and homes, while leaving residents in awe of the sheer force of nature. 54. 2013 Argentina hailstorm. The 2013 Argentina hailstorm was a terrifying event, with hailstones as large as grapefruits causing widespread damage. Roofs were destroyed, crops were flattened, and vehicles were left with shattered windows and dents. The storm left a lasting impact on communities, showcasing the destructive potential of these seemingly simple chunks of ice. 55. 2021 Calgary hailstorm, Canada. The 2021 Calgary hailstorm was one of the most destructive in Canadian history. Giant hailstones rained down, damaging thousands of homes and vehicles. Entire neighborhoods were left reeling from broken windows and dented roofs. The storm caused millions in damages and reminded residents of the growing frequency of extreme weather events. 56. The 1962 Huascaran avalanche, Peru. The 1962 Huascaran avalanche in Peru was the deadliest avalanche ever recorded. Triggered by a partial collapse of the north face of Mount Huascaran, the snow and debris buried villages below, killing around 4,000 people. Entire communities were wiped out in minutes, leaving devastation and a haunting memory of nature's power. 57. The 1910 Wellington Avalanche, USA. The 1910 Wellington Avalanche in Washington State remains one of the most tragic in U.S. history. It swept 2 passenger trains off their tracks into a gorge, burying them under snow and debris. 96 people lost their lives. This disaster prompted improvements in avalanche monitoring and safety measures in mountainous areas. 58. 1970 Ancash earthquake and avalanche, Peru. In 1970, a massive earthquake in Peru triggered a devastating avalanche from Mount Huascaran. The snow and debris buried the towns of Yungay and Ranrahirka, killing over 20,000 people in seconds. It was one of the deadliest natural disasters in Peruvian history, leaving an indelible scar on the region. 59. 2015 Everest avalanche, Nepal. The 2015 Everest avalanche was triggered by a massive earthquake that shook Nepal. Snow and ice cascaded into base camp, killing 22 climbers and injuring many others. It was the deadliest day in Everest's history. The tragedy highlighted the unpredictable dangers of high-altitude mountaineering and the devastating impact of earthquakes. 60. 2017 Rigopiano avalanche, Italy. The 2017 Rigopiano avalanche in Italy was a chilling disaster. A massive wall of snow buried a luxury hotel in the Abruzzo region, trapping dozens of guests and staff. Despite heroic rescue efforts, 29 people lost their lives. The event underscored the unpredictable nature of avalanches, even in well-populated areas. 61, 1933 Dust Bowl, USA. The Dust Bowl of the 1930s was a devastating environmental disaster in the United States. Severe drought, combined with poor farming practices, led to massive dust storms that ravaged the Great Plains. Crops failed, farms were abandoned, and thousands of families were forced to migrate. It shaped future conservation practices in agriculture. 62nd, 2003 European heat wave. The 2003 European heat wave was a deadly event that claimed over 70,000 lives across the continent. Record-breaking temperatures overwhelmed many countries, particularly France. Crops withered, rivers dried up, and urban areas became unbearable without adequate cooling systems. The tragedy underscored the urgency of addressing climate change and improving heatwave preparedness. 63. 1987 Black Sea cyclone, Ukraine. In 1987, the Black Sea cyclone brought chaos to Ukraine's coastline. This powerful storm destroyed infrastructure, sank ships, and left widespread devastation in its wake. It was one of the most intense cyclones recorded in the region, reminding coastal communities of the dangers posed by severe weather near large bodies of water. 64. 2000 Mozambique floods. The 2000 Mozambique floods were triggered by Cyclone Eline, resulting in catastrophic flooding that displaced over 1 million people. Entire villages were submerged, and the destruction of farmland led to a severe food crisis. International aid was critical in helping the country recover, but the scars of this disaster remain to this day. 65. 2022 Tonga volcano and tsunami. The 2022 eruption of the Hunga Tonga Hunga Ha'apai volcano was a breathtaking and destructive event. This undersea explosion sent shockwaves across the planet and triggered regional tsunamis. Entire coastal communities in Tonga were inundated, and communication was cut off for days. The event showcased the immense power of underwater volcanism. 66. 2011 Japan tsunami. The 2011 Japan tsunami was a terrifying event that swept away entire towns in seconds. Triggered by a massive 9.1 magnitude earthquake, towering waves over 130 feet high crashed onto the northeastern coast. Thousands of lives were lost, and the devastation was unimaginable, leaving behind haunting reminders of nature's fury. 67th, 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. In 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami became one of history's deadliest natural disasters. A 9.1 magnitude undersea earthquake unleashed waves that devastated 14 countries, including Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and India. Entire communities were destroyed, and over 230,000 lives were lost. It was a global tragedy that changed how tsunamis are monitored. 68th, 1964, Alaska tsunami. The 1964 Alaska tsunami was triggered by a colossal 9.2 magnitude earthquake, the strongest ever recorded in North America. Waves as high as 220 feet obliterated coastal areas, leaving communities in ruins. The disaster claimed over 130 lives and reshaped how tsunamis are studied and prepared for in the United States. 69. 2018 Indonesia Sulawesi tsunami. In 2018, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake in Sulawesi, Indonesia, unleashed a tsunami that wreaked catastrophic destruction. Waves up to 20 feet high swept through Palu City, claiming thousands of lives and leveling buildings. The disaster exposed gaps in warning systems and emphasized the urgent need for better preparedness in vulnerable areas. 70. 1755 Lisbon tsunami, Portugal. The 1755 Lisbon tsunami struck after a massive earthquake shook the Portuguese coast. The waves, reaching up to 20 meters, destroyed Lisbon's harbor and swept away entire neighborhoods. Thousands perished, and the city was left in ruins. It was a pivotal moment in understanding the links between earthquakes and tsunamis. 71. 2010 Chile tsunami. Following an 8.8 magnitude earthquake in 2010, a tsunami devastated coastal Chile. Entire towns were submerged, and lives were lost as waves surged inland. The disaster highlighted the importance of swift evacuation and reinforced Chile's reputation as a leader in earthquake and tsunami preparedness, saving countless lives in future events. 72. 1883 Krakatoa eruption and tsunami, Indonesia. The 1883 Krakatoa eruption was one of the most explosive events in history, creating tsunamis that devastated surrounding islands. Waves as high as 140 feet destroyed coastal villages, killing over 36,000 people. The ash-filled skies and thunderous eruptions are still remembered as symbols of nature's unrelenting power and unpredictability. 73. 2015 Tan Fjord tsunami, Alaska, USA. The Tan Fjord tsunami in Alaska was caused by a massive glacier collapse in 2015. The waves, some reaching over 600 feet, were among the tallest ever recorded. Thankfully, the remote location spared human lives, but the event highlighted the growing risks of glacial melt in a warming world. 74. 1998 Papua New Guinea tsunami. The 1998 Papua New Guinea tsunami was triggered by a powerful undersea earthquake. Waves over 40 feet high crashed into coastal villages, killing more than 2,000 people. Entire communities were wiped out in minutes. This disaster emphasized the importance of understanding undersea quakes and their potential to generate deadly tsunamis. 75. 1700 Cascadia earthquake and tsunami, Northwest USA. The 1700 Cascadia earthquake caused a massive tsunami that destroyed entire coastal villages along the Pacific Northwest. The waves reached as far as Japan, leaving records of the event across the ocean. It remains a haunting example of how unprepared regions can suffer immense losses from seismic activity beneath the sea. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.